All right, hello Algebra. This is your final video for this week. We're going to wrap up factoring trinomials. So when we factor trinomials, first thing we want to do is make sure they don't have any greatest common factor, and this one doesn't. So then we look at what we have. Well, we have a plus plus. So we know that we're going to set up our two binomial parentheses as plus plus. Then I'm going to split this in between the two. And then I need two factors of 8 that when I add them give me 6. Well, 1 and 8 aren't going to do it, but 2 and 4, the other factors would. So I would have n plus 2 times the quantity n plus 4. And if I FOIL that, I would get n squared plus 4n with my first and my outer. Then with my inner, I would have 2n and then plus 8. So n squared, this 4n plus 2n would give me 6n plus 8. Okay, so this is what we do when both our both our B and our C is a positive. Okay, in the next one, we don't have an A coefficient. Our B is negative and our C is positive. So what that means is, in order to get a positive and B be a negative, then both our last terms in each of our binomial has to be a negative, because that's the only way to get a positive. So this is going to be a minus minus. So I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to split my x. And then I need two factors of 40 that when you add them, you get 13. Well, 1 and 40 don't do it. 2 and 20, 4 and 10, but 5 and 8 do. So this would be 5, and this would be 8. And so this would be x squared minus 8x when I do the outer, minus my inner 5x plus 40, and there's that negative 13x for in the middle. And we have another one that looks like that. Once again, it's a negative B and a positive C. So it should set up like this. Negative, negative. I'm going to split that x. And then I need two factors of 24 that add together to give me 4. So 1 and 24, no. 2 and 12, no. 3 and 8, no. And 4 and 6, no. Because 25, 14, 11, 10, none of them would add up to give me 4. So y'all, this is one that you would say is prime. You cannot factor it. Cannot factor. That's as far as you could factor it down. There's no way we can factor that any further than what it's factored right there. Okay? So sometimes when you get to one and it doesn't work, you're going to want to think, oh, I don't know how to do this. I'm doing it wrong. No, some just can't be factored, and this is one that wouldn't be. Okay. Then we get to one where our C is a negative. And in this case, so is our B. Well, in order for C to be negative, what that means is that in our parentheses, in our binomials, one parenthesis has to be a positive and one has to be a negative. I'm going to go ahead and split that in. And in this case, I need two factors that when I subtract them, I'm going to get 1. And so I would have 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 4 and 14, and then I would have 7 and 8. So there would be my factors, that 7 and that 8. And since the n is a negative 1, my 8 is going to go with the negative, since it has to be bigger since it keeps the negative sign, and then plus 7. Okay? So I would have n squared for my first terms, minus 8n for my outer, plus 7n for my inner, and then minus 56. N squared, and then right here, that would be negative n, and then negative 56. Then for the last one, I have a positive B and a negative C. So once again, I know the only way to get that negative C is that my outer terms have to be, or have to be, my last terms rather, have to be a positive and a negative. And so this, I'm going to split the m, and I would have factors of 35 that when I subtract them give me 2. Well, the factors of 35, the only ones I know are 1 and 35, which would not give you 2, and then 5 and 7, which would give you 2. And because 2 is a positive, that means the 7 has to go with the plus, and the 5 has to go with the minus. So this would be m squared for my first terms, minus 5m for my last term, my outer terms, plus 7m for my inner terms, and then minus 35 for my last terms. So there's m squared. Then that negative 5m plus 7m would give me that positive 2m. And then there's my negative 35. And so we're done factoring with just this plain binomial. We're going to start factoring something different next week. But we're also going to do something on Monday with my regular math classes. We're going to do a word problem on systems, which y'all have already done systems. They're working on systems. So we're going to do a word problem with graphing and systems with math. So there'll only be one video on Monday, and it'll be for both of y'all. Somebody said they wanted to see me. They wanted to see my face and not just hear my voice. So I'm going to turn the camera around. You can get a good look at what it looks like to be 2 weeks into a lockdown with not using makeup and hair products. So I hope you can see that. I'm sorry for the scare it probably just gave you. I miss y'all. Send me a picture. Take a picture, send it to me through my email. I'd love to see y'all. Maybe something that y'all have been doing over this break. I'd love to see it. I miss y'all. I hope to see y'all soon.